What does it take to actually launch a consulting offer that sells? I got a question from somebody recently asking what steps they should take to launch a successful consulting offer. They believe they know something the market wants and they can put it out there, but they weren't quite clear on what steps to actually take. So in this video, I'm going to break that down for you. I'm going to explain the steps that you should take to sell more of your offers and how to actually launch an offer successfully. Now, I'll say a couple of things. The first is I love getting feedback from you guys. So if you're on YouTube right now, just go and leave a comment or a note. Let me know if you're enjoying these videos, if you have some feedback, if you have some suggestions or content or topics that you'd like me to cover in an upcoming video. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, likes, all that kind of stuff is always appreciated. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, a rating or review on Spotify or on Apple really does mean a lot to us. It makes a massive difference for us in getting the podcast out there and having more people find it. So I appreciate that. All right, let's get into why you're actually here, which is to talk about how you can launch a successful consulting offer. So I'll say one thing just to add a bit of context and then we're going to dive into it. We have built and we have promoted and sold millions of dollars of consulting offers. And what I'm going to talk about here is not so much about the quote unquote classic, customized, larger consulting engagement. However, you can actually sell that through what I'm about to talk about. But more generally, or I should say more specifically, actually, what I'm going to break down in this video and the steps that you can take works extremely well when you have a very clear, I'd call it even more productized offer. So let's talk about it. The first thing, so step number one for you to focus on and to think about is what is your hypothesis on the problem that you can solve and that you believe you can add big value. So don't start by doing anything else. Just begin by really thinking about what is the problem that you believe the market has that you can solve. And think about who specifically has that problem. Who do you believe has a problem that they are willing to invest to solve, that you are very well positioned to solve, and that will create great value for them. Now, the other consideration that I'll layer on top of this for you that I want to encourage you to think about is what is different about what you are doing compared to the status quo in the marketplace. And what I mean by that is if everyone is providing workshops on X, whatever that is, right? And you're saying, yeah, I'm going to provide workshops on X. Well, what's different? You're not breaking the status quo. You're just offering what everybody else is offering. Now, if you have a strong network and a big audience and a following, you can be successful selling what other people are selling, right? There's a lot of people selling and offering the exact same thing. But if you're coming into this with no real advantage, then trying to compete with what is already established in the marketplace, with what is already the status quo, typically presents problems and typically means that you will struggle to sell or to launch that offer effectively. So you want to get clear on what is the status quo and what are you doing differently from the status quo. That differentiation piece is really important. So step one, your hypothesis on the problem that you can solve, the value you can add, who needs it, who likely wants it, and what is different from what already exists. You could actually probably break that down into multiple steps or considerations, but I'll put that into one kind of basket or bucket. Now, the next thing, once you've done that, is you want to use emails, you want to do social posts on LinkedIn or whatever platform, so social media platform your ideal clients are on. You can run polls on something like LinkedIn is a great way to do this, but what you want to do is you want to try and get engagement and conversations. You want to agitate the problem. You want to see if people are interested in having a solution to that problem. So you might say something along the lines of, I've seen many people struggle with X. This is usually because they try and do something, whatever that is, but that something is not the actual issue. This other thing is, and I've seen this firsthand because I've worked with 12 organizations over the last 2 years, helping them to solve X problem, and they've on average seen this kind of a result. That's something like that is what you could put out there. Now, the next part is that you can say, I'm thinking about. So this is where you start to talk about what you're thinking about launching or offering. I'm thinking about doing whatever. Is that something that you would be interested in? Now, when you ask this by sending emails, by putting posts on social media, by running polls on LinkedIn, by engaging with people, sending messages and so forth, you're going to get feedback. And that feedback is going to be very important because it's going to tell you either the market is not interested, right? There's very low or little engagement. Nobody's really responding to you or saying that they're interested. That's important. Why is that important? Like, don't look at it as a bad thing. Because what it means is that something about what you put out there isn't a priority. It doesn't really speak to a meaningful problem that somebody wants to solve. Now, that's important because if you don't do this and you just went off and spent a lot of time building that offer, building that program, that service, that product that you think the market wants, and then you launch it and nobody wants it, you waste a lot of time. And I'm telling you this from firsthand experience, because back in the day, my cousin and co-founder here at Consulting Success, Sam, and I, we had another business that we invested probably in today's dollars would have been around $40,000 to build. And we did not do what I'm recommending that you do. This was 20-ish years or so ago. And what we found when we launched is that people did not want what we built, or at least they didn't want 95% of the features that we had built into this product. This was an online product. And so what we did, luckily, is we were able to pivot, to adjust, and to actually turn the 5% or so that people wanted into the actual product. We were able to build that, to grow that. Ultimately, we were able to sell that. That company was acquired and it was successful. It was a good experience. But ever since that day, I've been very, very intentional, or I've tried to guide other entrepreneurs and business owners and consultants to not build too much before you get feedback from the marketplace. So by structuring a message and getting that feedback as I just shared with you, you will know. Because if you get a lot of people saying, yes, I'm interested, tell me more about that. How do you do that? Or what would that look like? Or yes, like that, I have that exact issue, put me on the list. Any feedback like that is what you want. And so at that point, once you've got that feedback from the marketplace that is giving you a signal like, yes, go ahead, there's interest, the next step for you is to create an outline. So notice, I didn't say to build the product or service. Don't go away and spend months building it just because the market said that they want it. No, create an outline. And the outline can have some detail. It should talk about and kind of explain what that program or service or product would look like, right? It's an outline. It should give people a clear enough picture of what is included and what are the problems that it solves and the value that it creates, so that they feel confident that there's actually something there they're saying yes to. Because your next step is to go out and actually sell this. So don't build yet. Just now you have the outline, you sell it. Why? Because you will always find that there'll be a percentage of the market that will say, let's just say that 100 people raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm very interested in what you're having, what you're offering. That sounds really great. And you go off and you create the outline. Now you offer it to people. You're not going to have 100 people, of those same 100 people, like not 100% of them will not buy what they said that they would buy for all different kinds of reasons. Maybe the pricing doesn't align, maybe the timing, maybe they just said that because they said it, but they didn't actually mean it. So what you want to do is you want to get real, true validation. And the only way to get real, true validation is to have people pay to make an investment in what they want, or to sign, a letter of intent of some sort, or a contract. That also can work. But here you build the outline. Then the next thing is to think about what kind of incentive pricing can you provide. And what I mean by that is you want to create a reason for people to take action now and not wait. So what is the benefit for that person or the people that you're reaching out to, that first group, right? What's the benefit for them to act quickly? And so don't hide this as a new product. It's exciting that it's new, right? They get first access to it. You can position it either as like a beta program or a pilot program or a first cohort. But because of that, you might say that this is generally going to be $15,000, but now it's $10,000, right? So $5,000 off for the first group. Or maybe you even give a bigger initial discount. Why? Because that first few people that sell or that buy what you're offering, they provide the validation. And your first few clients in any program are going to give you the feedback to make that program better. So your goal in that first initial launch should not be to maximize pricing and capturing maximum value in terms of financial dollars. It should be to make it profitable, make money, but also you want to use that to strengthen and optimize and really improve what you've created. Why? Because you're going to launch and sell it again. But that first group, so how do you make that offer, right? You create the pricing, there's an incentive, there's some benefit they get. Maybe you position it as they get a big savings, but as part of that, they need to give you feedback throughout, or they need to do some surveys or whatever, right? So that helps you to improve what you're actually offering. Well, now you want to make that offer and you want to follow up and you want to promote it. How do you do that? Send emails, social media posts. You might put a note on your website if you get people actually coming to your website. You send messages, text messages, you call people. You do everything that you can do. If you're giving talks, right? You mention it during a talk. If you have a podcast, you mention it on your podcast. If you have videos on a YouTube channel, you talk about it on your, YouTube channel. Whatever you have access to, an email list, so on and so forth, right? You want to put it out there. And so you make the offer, you talk about it, you introduce it, you make sure to follow up. So it's not just a one-time thing that you do and hope that people sign up. No, think about it as a campaign, a multi-step. You should have multiple touch points. You talk about this, you might say registration is open for 2 weeks, and then you keep talking about it throughout those 2 weeks. You create urgency, scarcity, right? We're getting close. This is the final chance. Boom, right? You get more people sign up for it, hopefully, right? If you've done this properly. And if you're wondering, well, how do I do this? I'd like help with this. This is the kind of stuff we help and work with our clients very closely on as part of our Clarity Coaching program, where you get one-to-one coaching, a personalized growth roadmap, 90-day game plans, a whole bunch of resources and accountability to help you to really grow and take your consulting business to the next level. This is the kind of stuff that we can help you with and really coach you one-to-one to help you to implement with great success. So back to what we're talking about, you make the offer, you promote it, right? You do the follow-up. Now, it's one important thing for me to make a note here for you is that depending on the price of your offer, you may need to have a phone call. If this is a course, if it's generally less than $1,000, give or take, a phone call is not required. In some cases, even under $2,000 or $3,000. But in a lot of situations, over $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, you will need a phone call. So your promotion of this, depending on the price point, may just be going to a page where people can just click a button and buy or register, or it might be to book a call, to have a call with you or somebody on your team, where on that call, you then see if they're a fit for the program and then enroll them into that program. So if this is going to be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, then yes, you're going to need to get people to go to a call, not just to click on a button to buy. Once you've done that, you've made the offers, you've done the follow-up, you've gotten the sales. Now, if you haven't gotten the sales, right, you want to go back to the market, get some feedback, find out what didn't resonate. Was it too expensive? Was it not the right time? Did it not cover the right things? What do they wish that it had? You need to get that feedback so you can try and course correct and then hopefully make some additional sales. But let's now assume for the purpose of what we're talking about here that you get signups and you get people buying and registering and taking you up on your offer. And it's enough that it feels like, yes, this is worthwhile for me to deliver on it, whether it's one client or 50 clients, whatever you need in order to make it make sense to actually build this out, right? If you have just one person or two people, but it's going to cost you $20,000 to really build this out, and they've only paid you $1,000 each, there's a good chance you're not going to build it out, right? You don't have enough validation. There wasn't enough interest to warrant you spending the time to do that. Again, it's good for you to know this at this point, rather than going off spending a bunch of time only finding that you had a couple people, but it never took off. But again, let's assume that you got enough interest and enough dollars paid, committed to warrant you building this out. Well, the next step is now you build it. You take the time to build it out. And generally, right, when you sell it, you might say, we're launching this in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, whatever that timeline is. You make a timeline and then you go and you build it. Now, because you have the outline, you've already created it, you're going to find that in most cases, it's not going to take you that much time. It's not going to be as hard as you think to build stuff out. Just plan around it, right? Figure out what you need. Then you build it. Then you deliver it. Then you optimize, meaning you capture feedback from people as you deliver. You find out what didn't work so you can improve it, what works so you can do more of it. You make the adjustments, right? You optimize, and now you repeat. Now you figure out, okay, I have something that works. I've made it better. I've gotten some case studies, some testimonials. Now you go back. And now this time when you go back, you market it, you promote it, you offer it, you deliver it, you repeat it. But this time as you do that, you may and likely will increase your price. Why? Because that initial pilot is no longer, you don't need to do it anymore. You've already gotten people through it. And now because you have proof, if you've delivered great results, you have people saying how great this was, you can take that and now it makes it easier to sell it to more people, because one of the biggest reasons that people do not move forward and make a decision is because they wonder, they don't feel confident on whether or not they can get results from investing and working with you. But if you have a lot of proof and you can show that, then it makes people feel much more confident, and they are therefore willing to invest more money. So that's the process. Again, you can learn a lot more about all this by heading over to consultingsuccess.com or click just the link below this video here, or go to our website. You can learn more about all of our programs, the Consulting Success Podcast. We have a lot of free resources as well. Our goal is to help you to create a wildly profitable, successful consulting business that gives you the lifestyle that you want. So I hope this video was helpful for you, or if you're checking in on the podcast, please leave a little note or comment below, or submit some feedback and a rating review on Spotify or iTunes. It all makes a massive difference. So thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope that you have a great and successful day.